Good morning. You know, I'm so used to saying good morning, but it's not morning. It's evening. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of Mando, where we talk about anything. Anything that's happening or anything I just feel like talking about. If you hear any music in the background, which most likely you will, and I may have to turn down depending on how loud it gets, we are listening to Pearl Jam from their album 10, released in 1991. Where were you guys in 1991? I really want to know what happened, what was going on in your guys' lives in 1991. I'll tell you what happened to me in 1991. In 1991, when this album was released, I was not even born yet. That's right, I wouldn't be born for another 3 years. I wasn't even a thought. You understand? Not T-H-O-T. Like nowadays, how did that word even come to exist? Thought, you know? Listen to this song. This song is so good, I swear. If you guys haven't heard this album, please do yourself a favor and hear this album. It's super good. But yeah, 1991. You know, when I first heard Pearl Jam, I just barely started high school back in 2008. Well, the second half of 2008, like August. I was 14. Yeah. And they would be played a lot in the radio. And a majority of the songs that I would listen to are in this album, even though I'm trying to get more. But every time I listen to this, whether now when I'm talking to you guys, or maybe like even in the radio, or maybe even just when I'm just wanting to vibe, you know, I have memories from that point of my life, you know, just really like, man, you know, I was that young and I was doing this, doing that. It's kind of sad continuously reminisce about your younger years, especially since I'm only 28. But it's like, you know, sometimes it happens. And for me, it's like it hits a certain point in my time, or sometimes it just happens a little too often. Well, anyways, I got a surprise for you guys. And it's for my buddy who's listening to this, most likely. Listen to this. That's right. Your boy got another case of Liquid Death. I mean, like, you know what's better about hearing the can of Liquid Death get cracked open? Is this. That was for you, boy. Well, how do you call it? A new thing. Another great thing is this. I finally got myself a microphone arm. Not a stand. I always had a stand, but that stand didn't work for this mic. I got an actual microphone, like podcasting arm, you know? And I was actually able to connect my Blue Ember onto it. And it is working like a charm. I mean, like, there's so much more space because I work on this little foldable table, and it's not much. I think I'll post up my old setup versus my new setup, and when I do, forgive the mess in the background. It's majority my lady stuff and the cat tree. Maybe you'll see my Xbox and the TV, but yeah, it's mainly my lady stuff and the cat tree. But how do you say it? It is great. Before, I used to have to put the microphone stand and the camera and the fans and power on this one table, and also have my drinks on there. Excuse me. But now, since I just got this microphone arm and it just clamps to the side of the table, there's so much more space for my stuff. And I mean, like, I grew up with my family and we didn't really have much, so I'm used to having small space and everything and making the most out of it. And this is just a testament to it. It's not much. I know a lot of other podcasters have so much space, an entire room dedicated to just doing this. But for me, right now, this is perfect. This is great. And on top of the podcast arm for the microphone, I also have myself a pop filter. So if I go like, please bring pizza pronto. I don't know if you guys hear a lot of pop, but I'm pretty close to the filter. The filter is probably like 2 inches from the mic. So you guys may hear the difference in sound quality or I don't know. Hey, I'm sure you guys are enjoying the music in the background, but let me, I am too, but let me just drop it down just a little bit. I'm still trying to get this volume for every album thing right, because if I play Minecraft or Skyrim Atmospheres, I have to put it up a little more so you guys can hear it. But if I'm playing like a nice album, like Pearl Jam's 10 released in 1991, or Pantera, you know, or Frank Sinatra, or how do you call it, Tony Bennett, I kind of have to adjust as I go, because I wish my record player had an arm, like a remote control and everything, so I can lower the volume from here, but it doesn't. But then again, that's the beauty of a record player. Speaking of record player, let me when I come back, I'm gonna tell you exactly what something about it. Hold on. Chefy boy. Okay, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys may not really hear a difference, but I do. As long as you guys have a little bit of both, then that's cool. So, speaking of record player, I don't know if I mentioned it. Yeah, I did. In towards the end of one of my episodes, that my boy went to Arizona on the same days that I had my days off. So I ended up staying home alone and crying. So, kidding. What do you call it? He came back and he brought me a record player. I'm sorry, I've yet to hook it up and try it out, but he tested it and it looks great. The reason I haven't hooked it up is because I want to replace the needle for the arm with a new one, a more reliable one with diamond and everything like that. Because though a brand new needle and adjusting everything to specs, so that way I don't ruin my records. But other than that, it's a beautiful, beautiful record player. Has cassette player, radio, CD player, and a record player. It's incredible. I love the one my lady bought me. Don't get me wrong. When she got me that for Christmas, she was just like, she just knew. She just knew what I wanted. She just knew my style, And I'm like, for me, I have multiple different ways, multiple different tastes and everything like that. But one thing that she knows that I love is the more old school, vintage looking stuff. And that's exactly what I got. My record player that she bought me was one that when you close it up, it's a suitcase. But the suitcase looks so vintage with the brass, the copper, worn down and everything like that. It just looks like a suitcase. But you open it up, boom, record player. And so did the record player my boy got me. It's wood. It's just wood. And it's like you put it somewhere in your home. If you make your home look like the 70s, it looks like it belongs there, And it's just, I love that style. Just a little piece of different eras in life. But yeah, so I'm happy with both of them. Thank you to my boy, and thank you to my lovely lady. It's just, I can't get enough of this. One thing that did kind of annoying me a little bit was the fact that prior to starting this podcast, my cat Whiskey, they get used to jumping on, because I keep my record player and my box of records on top of my dresser. And when I'm not using it, the record player's closed and the box is closed, and they tend to jump up and chill up there. The thing is, it wasn't until tonight where I started to do, I was getting ready to do the podcast. I opened up the box, took out Pearl Jam's record, opened up my record player, put it on there, and I'm getting it ready and getting everything else ready. All I hear is the sound of someone fumbling everywhere, and I turn around and it's my cat Whiskey jumped on the dresser and jumped on top of my record that was already on the record player, and then saw me and tried to jump on top of the box, but ended up, because I kept the lid off, ended up jumping inside, freaking out because I ended up trying to rush over to her to get her out of there. And then she just responds by jumping on my record and moving it around, and then falling off the dresser and then running away. She's fine. She's just chilling underneath the bed. I see her right now, but it's just like, I know she's fine. Cool. Is my record fine now? I'm playing it right now. I'm playing it on the side that she landed on twice, and so far so good. No scratches, no skips, and let's hope it stays like that. Speaking of that, there's another album I have, The Strokes, and I first heard about them when my sisters were playing with the playing with them. That's weird. Playing them on the radio or on their CDs when they were burning CDs and everything, and I fell in love with them. The Strokes are incredible. They're an incredible band. I really want to see them live. The thing is, on my second time playing that record, because I only played it one time through in its completion. The first time was fine. The second time, it wasn't until the very last song, and that song is really good. They ended up, it ends up skipping, and that hurts me. That record wasn't so expensive, but I've been dying to play it while podcasting, and unless I just know when to switch it before that song comes up, I just don't want to, just don't want to play it. I mean, I'll play it. My record player has Bluetooth in it also, so I can play it from my phone into the record player, but it's not the same as a record. But yeah. Well, anyways, Liquid Death, and I also got some tea. Give me a second. I'm going to enjoy some tea. Hold on. Oh my God, so delicious. You guys, incorporate more tea. It's just, it gets some getting used to because it's not sweet. It's not like very weedy or anything like beer or anything. It doesn't give you a kick like alcohol. It doesn't give you that jolt like coffee or soda or whatever. But once you really start getting a taste for it, it just makes you feel incredible. That's just how I feel. Remember earlier I was just saying how my lady sent me a snap real quick. It's a picture. So she's working. She's doing ristorante and pizza house, a pizza restaurant. Oh, what? And no, we should go try there and everything like that. She does a Uber Eats and everything like that. So she's out there doing that right now. It's her weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The weekend is actually her weekend, so lucky for her. I work in the morning. Work was hectic. Oh my God. Work today yesterday was dead. I was the one mainly responding to calls here and there and everything. But today, I don't know what happened. Sundays are typically slow days. The only real action we ever get on Sundays is when people forget stuff and we have to go pick it up and everything. Sunday today was just something else. Like, the first 2 hours of my shift, and I started at 6 in the morning, the first 2 hours were chill. It wasn't until after that everything just hit the fan, and calls left and right, and I land a report, and then more calls, and then I end up landing a second report, and then the fire alarm. Then my partner for the day, she ends up landing 2 reports, and I feel bad for her because she ended up landing one report like half an hour before she was supposed to be off, so she had to stay overtime to do it. And you know how much that sucks? Anybody who listens to this who has ever done reports and has had to do lengthy ones, you can be so experienced, and that helps a lot actually. But sometimes reports just last. Sometimes reports just take forever to complete, and it sucks, especially when those that get brought to your table as soon as you're about to clock out. It's like, no, this needs your attention now. Oh, but I'm gonna have to clock out or else I'll cure overtime. Overtime approved. Do it. That sucks. More money, which is good, but it still sucks. Well, anyways, that's what happened today. And it was insane. It was just truly insane. But at the end of the day, I gotta say this. I'm happy I have the job. Simple as that. I am happy I have the job. I mean, like, I make decent money. I work decent hours. And I enjoy the people I work with. And I enjoy where my job is located. And it's just, in the end of the day, I'm just happy I have it. Because now, today, since I started at 6 a.m. and got off at 2:30, guess what? Got to come home, relax for a bit with my cats. My lady came back. We had some quesadillas together. We watched an episode of Jessica Jones, which, by the way, she is hooked. I knew she was going to like it. Like, I watched it, and it's like, it's good. It wasn't really my thing. It's dark. It's gritty. It's realistic. But so is Daredevil. So is The Punisher. And they're more in my alley. Jessica Jones is cool. I like her. It's just, something that I had to like really have to invest myself in order to like find out what's going on, how it connects with everything else and everything. But my lady, I knew that that show touched upon topics that she would absolutely love. So I said, "Hey, give this show a chance with me." We did, and of course, just like that's all she wrote. She ended up falling in love with the show, and she's hooked on it. And this month, Mayans. Oh, and also this month, her birthday. So I'm gonna do something special when it arrives. So yeah. So what was I saying originally before? Oh yeah, work. It was insane today, but here I am and finally podcasting. And this is what I look forward to a lot in my day. When I know my lady's gonna be out either working or with her mom or whatever, and I don't have to work either on my day off or I just get done early. This is what I enjoy doing. It's just talking in this microphone. So whoever listens to it, listens to it. So I'm listening to the song, and yeah, it does remind me a lot of school. It does remind me a lot of like high school and how energetic and everything I was and stuff like that. But it also reminds me, and especially today at work, it reminds me about the time that in their life that everybody has to go through, which is transitioning from someone who's going to school, student, to becoming an adult. And sometimes people gradually become an adult little by little, and sometimes adulthood hits people like a freight train. And I believe a couple of episodes before, it's really about perspective and experience that molds people's minds, molds people's opinions on matters of the world. Just like I grew up with a lot of friends back home in SF and everything, and I would love to believe I'm very good friends with a lot of them still. I know it's not most, because I've had differences with people whom I went to school with that I used to get along with, but it's like that's just a harsh reality. Main reason is because we all live different experiences. For example, I'll give you some of my experience. I'll try and make it not too lengthy. After high school, I tried to do a lot of stuff. One of the main things that I did was go straight into work instead of going to college. And I was a delivery boy for Jimmy John's. At first, I used to just wash dishes. Everybody else used to do deliveries. But then one day they were short staffed, and they're like, "Hey, Mando, can you start doing deliveries?" Our radius wasn't that big at all, because we were located in the financial district of downtown San Francisco, and it gets busy. They were looking for drivers, but then they were looking for bicyclists to do deliveries. I just ran. I ran to all my deliveries. One of the Jimmy John's models is freaky fast delivery, and that's what the model we lived up. It was on our shirts, on our hats, on our jackets, on our backpacks, on our bags, on our wrappers, everything. Freaky fast. And even people who would come into the store and order, they would get their sandwiches made and taken to them before they even finished paying. That's how fast we were. Well, anyways, I would run. Freaky fast delivery. I was still 18 years old, 19, energetic. I remember one time, an old coworker whose last day was there, he was skate, and I hadn't skateboarded since 9th grade at that point, so like 4 or 5 years. And he goes, "Hey, Armando, you want to take my skateboard? See, try it out?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I took the board. I think he didn't think I was serious, but yeah, I took it and I rode it. That whole thing, like, you need to get your sea legs. Yeah, my skateboarding legs weren't what they used to be, but I went, and I realized that even struggling, even wobbling around, trying to be careful not to fall and destroy the food and drink, I realized that my delivery time got cut down a good solid 30%, And I was like, oh, crap. So when I got paid, I immediately went to my local skate shop, Mission Skateboards, and I got myself a board. 7.5 deck, Venture trucks, and what is it? Reds. I got reds for my bearings, and I got the stock wheels. But I started practicing on that. When I wasn't working, I was out skating, and my balance started growing more, and I started pushing myself more, so I started remembering how to skate, how to control my board, how to do this, how to do that. I wasn't learning, I was remembering. So eventually, a delivery that would take me 12 minutes to get to the location, deliver the food, and then get back a total of 12 minutes literally started taking me five or six. That's how huge my delivery time got cut. I mean, I won't lie. I ended up, I fell a lot, especially during working, especially during deliveries. I used to go home with injuries because that's just what the job entailed, you know? But being that age, being young, I didn't let that stop me. I remember one time I finished a delivery and I started skating down the middle of the street because the light was about to turn red on me and I knew I could beat it. The thing is, I got on my board and I kicked off. And as soon as I kicked off, I knew my foot wasn't properly planted on the board. I knew I was going to lack, balance. I knew I was going to fall. But I kept going and I kept going. And I remember that was a downhill. And I remember falling off my board, landing on both my knees. And because I still had momentum, my knees started dragging on the floor, on the cement, downhill for like a solid 5 feet. I got up, grabbed my board, and kept skating. This time properly balanced. I was bleeding like crazy. All I did was go to work, wash off my knees in the sink, slap on some bandages, and I grabbed my board and took on the next delivery. I mean, that was fun. Well, the point of me telling you this story is this. That job, being delivery, I loved it. A cool experience that I had was, I remember I delivered an entire catering order to one of Ubisoft's office. Ubisoft, the same people from last episode I talked about that made Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Tom Clancy, and everything like that. It's just Rainbow Six. Yeah, that Ubisoft. And they have an office in SF. And I delivered them on entire catering order. That tip was $100 just for me. And that's the reason I loved it. It was the tips. It was incredible. Don't get me wrong. I was still earning the minimum wage from that point, which I think was like $10.15. But the tips on top of it was insane. Because, yeah, I just loved it. Well, I remember I used to get mad at people who would tip me only a few cents, people who would tip me $1, or we had a huge order to deliver. Let's say the order was probably like 150. People who would tip me like $5. I was like, wow, you guys are cheap. Wow, you guys suck. And yeah, that's truly what I would believe. But, you know, I was young. I remember I was dating this girl at the time. She was 5 years older than me. But she had the mentality. It's like, hey, if you don't have enough to tip, then stay your ass home. Cook. Do something. You're too broke to be going out to go eat and everything if you don't tip. And I fell in that mentality. I'm not going to lie. Yes, I did. You know? Not because I was looking at it with reason. I was looking at it with dollar signs for eyeballs. I saw money. I was getting paid a fair amount, but I saw money, extra money. And yeah, so I remember I used to make a day's pay in just tips, and that was a moderate day. And I remember there was a point where when I needed money, I was like, okay, I have another shift tomorrow. I'll have it by then. And that's what it was. Except that age, I didn't really have much responsibilities. I had money, yes, but I spent it on food, spent it on video games, spent it on stuff for skateboards, spent it on comics, on comic book movies, on different stuff like that, you know? But yeah. Anyways, I started growing older, and the whole experience stuff, where was I going with that? I knew I was going with something about experience. Oh yeah, when I got older, I worked a different job. I started working security. Made a great wage, $15 an hour, when minimum wage was still only $10.20, I think, or $10.15. And within a year, I got a $2 raise, $17.15 an hour, and minimum wage was still the same. The thing was, how do I say it? When I moved down here to San Diego and things started getting different and everything. That wages were different, work was different, requirements were different, etc., etc., etc. I had to do something called adapt, and within a while adapting to a different environment, to different norms, to different means, everything like that, I had to learn, and I went through certain experiences, and a lot of those jobs required me to not think with emotions, not to reason with emotions, not to argue with emotions, but to grab the facts and state the facts. People don't like it. People start attacking you personally. People start attacking you for your family, your appearance, anything like that. Oh well, bite your tongue, because at the end of the day, they're just words, and that's what it is. It's just words, And when you have to take action for whatever means, make sure you're justified, because the world has cameras, and those cameras will only show what they want to show. But when you have cameras around the area then that the common folk can't get a hold of, then the truth really comes out. So maintain professionalism at all time. Maintain an open mind. Make sure that you know both sides of every story. Don't come in with assumptions, with what your feelings or your heart tells you. You come in with facts, and that's basically it. A lot of the jobs I worked down here, a lot of the professions that I took up, a lot of the incidents, the events that I had to go through and everything, they were all focused on facts. And even if though sometimes I did not like those facts, that's what it was. That's just what it was, and I had to deal with it, and I had to accept it. And and part of those is my views on a lot of major things that happen nowadays. Like this one event that happened in Florida, like this past in February, but we'll either get to that later or maybe another day. But a lot of my views, a lot of my ideals, a lot of my, I would even say, pictures that I had on my Facebook, let me tell you, it did not resonate well with a lot of the people I know back home. And as a result, I ended up either being cut off from some of the people back home, or at the same time, I ended up just, how do you say it, being told off and then blocked, so I couldn't reply. And I hate when people do that. It's like, why do people do that? Why do they go up here and they're all like, oh, look at you, la, la, and they insult anything they can insult and stuff like that, and then they immediately unfriend you and block you. And it's like, you're not even gonna let me, reply or anything like that. You know what it is? It's because they don't want to hear it. People like that don't want to hear it. They want to live in their echo chamber. They want to just be told, yeah, you're right, I agree with you and everything like that, and they don't want to hear anybody's opposing point of view, even if the opposing point of view is backed up with facts. And it's just, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get a little emotional here and there, but I try and catch myself before I act out with those emotions, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna look foolish. So yeah. Well, anyways, talking about experiences, this, my point of views are my point of views because that's just how I lived my life. That's what I lived through. The stuff that I've experienced, that I've done, that I've lived through, molded the way I sleep, eat, think, breathe now. While a lot of the people that I went to school with who don't like me for that did not live through the stuff I lived through. They live through their own things. I'm not saying their life is easy peasy lemon squeezy, absolutely nothing wrong has ever happened to them, but they've always stayed on one side. And that side that they've stayed in, or that bubble that they've kept in, doesn't encourage you to look at facts. Doesn't encourage you to look at both sides of different stories. Doesn't encourage you to just maintain professionalism. It encourages you to fight for what you believe. Is that wrong? No, it's not. But make sure what you believe is actually correct. Make sure that you're actually right in what you're believing in. And make sure that you got all the facts. That's just what it is. Just make sure you got all the facts. It's just, I don't know. But that's my whole thing. And that's usually the different type of experiences that me and them have lived, which is the reason why me and some old friends from back home aren't friends anymore. But give me a second. I'm gonna flip my record. I think, as you guys can hear, that side finished. I gotta do the other side. Hold on, give me a second. Well, the good news is that this side didn't skip at all. So yeah, turns out it's not scratch or skipping or anything like that. Also, if you guys have records, you should really invest on some products that they sell on Amazon to keep your records clean, dust free, and everything. They'll prolong the life of your records and the quality. There we go. All right, I'm back. Yeah, okay. So, my whole point is this about the whole experiences lived, yada yada yada. Back to the tipping and everything. I hated when I didn't get either I didn't get tipped or I got tipped less than what I thought I deserved. Thing is, growing up and learning different experiences is this. I see that for me, I believe that I was wrong thinking that way, believing that way and everything. Because at the end of the day, what are tips? What is gratuity? They're gifts. No one is entitled to anything outside of what the bill asks of a customer. As long as the customer pays what the bill is telling them to pay, you're all good. Gratuity is just extra. It's just extra. That's what it is. It's just a gift for the person who is serving them. And a lot of people go like, oh, but restaurants have a tip pool, this, and that. You got to split it with other people and all that stuff. I don't think tip pools are correct, to be honest. I don't. I mean, like, if tips are even a thing, or should be a thing, they should be tipped to whoever the customer deemed what deserves of it, It's like, yeah, as us servers, we gotta wait on multiple tables. We gotta, juggle orders, this, and that, and everything. All right, I get it. I totally understand that. I really do. But in the end of the day, you were writing things down in a notepad or a tablet. Now that it's 2022, and you have a table number, and those table numbers have their orders on there. And you know what the table numbers are. And if you click that table number and you see what that table ordered, you know exactly what to bring them. Okay? What about if you work in a restaurant that's moderately busy or just not that busy at all? Do you think you still deserve that tip? Let me tell you something about tipping. If it was up to me, I would tip the person who cooked my food. I told a lot of people this, and they're all like, hey, why don't, you just don't want people to bring you your stuff then? And I'm like, no, that's nice. But in the end of the day, if not giving you extra money means that I should just go to the kitchen and grab my own stuff, then I'll be happy to do that too. I'll tip the person who grabbed the ingredients and put them all together to make something that I enjoy to eat. I'm like, hey, you did a splendid job. That dish was delicious. Here you go. It's really about it, If you want us to go full Burger King, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, where we go to the cash register, order, get our drink from a machine, and then go up and pick up our stuff, that's cool. I don't mind doing that, But that's just me, really. I understand when people say, hey, servers only get paid $2.15 an hour, and if we don't make tips, we struggle with our bills, and it's like we basically pay to work. We pay to serve you and everything like that. And to that, I say this. Give me a second while I moisten my throat. Oh, man, that's good. And to that, I say this. That's what I say now. FLSA, the Fair Labor Standard Act, created in 1938, What the Fair Labor Standard Act states is basically that, and keep in mind, this is started in 1938, a year before World War II started. This was the Great Depression. The Fair Labor Standard Act states that employees who work a job, who work a position where they earn tip gratuity, where they earn any tip or gratuity, they are legally allowed to be paid $2.15 an hour. Keep in mind, this was a product of its time. $2.15 at that point. Hold on, let me just grab my phone. Let me see. Let me reference something. So let's say California. So California minimum wage back in 1938. 25 an hour. Yeah, okay. Well, how do you call it? Wow, really? 25 an hour? Holy crap. Wow, okay. Well, anyways, those working a tipped income were allowed to get paid less than the minimum wage. And the whole thing about that was that because they got paid in tips along with the regular wage, as long as the tips in the end of their shift equal to or surpass the amount of the employees that just work for minimum wage, then they were allowed to be paid less. And unfortunately, even though World War II happened and then the United States had an economic boom and everything like that, that FLSA stayed a thing. So it's still relevant to this day, except to this day, it allows employers to pay their employees like $2 and something cents, way less than what minimum wage is now. So how do you say it? In turn, you see a lot of these TikToks, a lot of these Instagrams or Facebook posts or whatever, and it's servers being like, still don't think that still think it's fine to not tip your servers. Look how much we take home. And I remember I saw one where it's literally someone in TikTok shared that they got $9 for 2 weeks worth of work or 70 hours worth of work or something like that. However they put it. Which is 10 hours shy of a full 2 weeks worth of work now that I think about it. Well, anyways, they're like, this is how much I make for 2 weeks worth of work. It's like, you still think that I'm able to support myself, support my family, yada yada, with $9 every 2 weeks? And I'm like, oh, that's horrible. Holy crap. Well, show us your tips. How much did you earn in tips? And I'm not just talking about the ones that are put in because they paid through credit card. I'm talking about the cash tips too. How much did you earn in total in tips? I just want to see that. But just as expected, no one ever wants to, to show that. Why? I mean, like, what I find crazy is that the same people that are so free with showing you how much they make for 2 weeks worth of work, just a few dollars, are also the same people who don't want to tell you how much they make in tips. Why? Because they surpassed every single day. They surpassed the amount of money that they would have made if they worked a full shift making minimum wage. Yet they don't want to share that. They don't want to acknowledge that. I said it once and I say it again. If people who are unhappy with their wages, serving because you're earning a little bit because you're working a tip job, bring it up to your employer. You agreed to the wage when you decide to sign the paperwork to work that position for that amount of money. You understood, which is why you put your signature. But if you're unhappy with that, speak to your employer. It is your employer who is choosing to pay you that amount. Why should the customers be in charge of giving you money that they worked hard to earn? I tip. Not gonna lie, I do tip because I've been there for 2.5 years. I've been there working multiple different positions in the kitchen, delivery. I understand. I experienced it, but you know what else I experienced it on top of that? I experienced people who I knew darn well made a decent living every single day complain when somebody only gave him a few bucks for tip. I'm like, hey, that's actually more than anybody else is working. For example, I had somebody on this one comment section basically say that they get mad because they serve around 4 tables an hour, and the typical bill in their place of employment is around $100, 120 something, but they only get paid $10 for each table. And they're like, what the hell, $10? Are you serious? This and that. Well, it's just like, you take those $10 you made from those 4 tables in an hour, that's $40 an hour. You just made $40 an hour. Ask anybody else who works with you who doesn't work a tip job. Ask them how much they make an hour. I'll guarantee you it's like 8 something an hour, or 12 something an hour. You're making $40 an hour. If someone were to come up to you and be like, hey, listen, I want to offer you a serving job. You only have to wait on 4 tables an hour for 8 hours, and you'll get $40 an hour. People would jump on that. $40 an hour? Heck yeah, I'll get that. I'll take that any day. But people don't look at it that way. Servers that I've met don't look at it that way. They want to get paid minimum wage on top of the tips. And this is why I always say that if servers get paid minimum wage and the restaurant, their place of employment, encourages or not just encourages, straight up declines customers to leave gratuity, to the point that they make their employees return the money to the customer if they try to leave some, servers won't like it. They won't. Because in the end of the day, that's just extra money that they're all like, me, no, thank you, no extra money for me. And it's just like, that's what I always say. It's just like, gratuity is a gift, not a requirement. If you truly believe that you need to be paid more, bring that up to your employer. It's not fair to go up to a customer and be like, hey, you owe me a tip. I brought you your plates and I refilled your drinks. And it's just like, yeah, that's your job. That's literally your job requirements. You want extra money because you did the job that you signed up to do? It's insane. It's really insane to me. But I see that a lot of people don't like that gets brought up. It's like, it's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject now. I can't even speak anymore. It's a touchy subject now. I mean, like, tipping is always, it's just one of those things that if you talk about it, you're going to divide a lot of people that you're with. Same thing as politics and religion. It's just one of those things. And this is what I stand about it. I will tip you. Yes, I will. Because that's just how it is, you know? But I am not obligated to tip you. I'll give you one example. There was one time in Coronado, this burger place that looked delicious. And me and my lady just had a very long day in our respective places of employment. We got off of work around the same time, met each other at home, and I was like, hey babe, I want to take you out. Let's go out. I took her to that burger place, and she was like, oh wow, this looks great. So we went. We put our name on the wait list. After like 20 minutes, we were called. We were given our table. Our server comes. He's like, good morning, my name is so I'll be your server today. All right, cool, how you doing? Yeah, all right. Can I have this drink? And my lady was like, yeah, I'll have that drink and everything like that. Sweet. So we're talking, we're looking at what we want. Server comes back, and he takes our order. Me and my lady are enjoying our drinks, and our server doesn't come back. It's somebody else who comes to our table and gives us our order. I'm like, oh, okay. I realized I need a refill. I was just having a Dr. Pepper, I think. I realized I need a refill, so I'm looking for our server. Our server goes behind one of the employee desks, and just stands there. He's not doing work. He's not doing, like punching in numbers. He's not looking at the computer, nothing like that. I'm making eye contact. Well, I'm not making eye contact. I'm looking at him. I'm having an unobstructed view of this guy standing there, looking around, and I'm trying to get his attention. He's not looking at me. After a minute, he gets out from over the table, and he goes around and he starts just taking care of everybody else but me. So he keeps walking. As he's passing by, I'm trying to get his attention. He's not looking at me. It got to the point where, because I hate raising my hand and like shaking my hand in order to get anybody's attention, I just don't like it. But I'm starting to do that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm like, what the hell, man? So I'm trying to get some other employee's attention. Nothing. So I'm eating my dinner with no drink. It's dry as hell. I'm not enjoying it as I should be, you know? My lady notices me and she offers me some of her drink, which thank you very much. I do appreciate you for that. But it was insane how our server just wasn't, like, he did that multiple times. He did it like 3 or 4 times. He would go to the desk, look around for a little bit, walk around, help everybody else, and not come to us. And he would just not look at my direction. Finally, we get done. I get done with my plate. My lady gets done with her plate. She thoroughly enjoyed it, which, you know, I'm glad. I would have enjoyed mine more and everything. And finally, the server goes to our table. Oh, you guys are done. Can I get you a refill, sir? And I just look at him. I'm like, there's no point. No, I'm good. So he's like, okay. And he gives me the bill. I literally just paid what I'm owed and what I owe, and that's it. No tip, nothing. It was terrible. I knew he was gonna not like it. Too bad, you know, too bad. Tell me, not only did you not deserve a tip, you actually performed less than what your job requirement was. Why do you deserve a single penny out of me? You know? Any situations like those that I don't tip. But you also gotta understand that sometimes if I just don't want to tip, I'm not gonna tip. No one owes you extra money at all. Nobody. So it's like, you know, I can cook myself at home, cook myself food at home. I can cook myself at home. Imagine that. I can cook my stuff at home if I wanted to, and I do. But sometimes you just don't want to. You want to go out. Eating out is a luxury, you know? You know what isn't a luxury? Deliberately giving out extra money that you don't owe anybody. That's just something, you know? I want service to get paid more. I truly do. But I want the employers to pay their employees more. I don't want this to be the norm where people believe that the customers need to make up that difference that the employers are deliberately not doing for their employees. And that's just really my point of view of things. It's like, I said it again multiple times. Tipping, gratuity is a gift. Is a gift that a customer chooses to give their server. Nothing else. It is not a requirement. And there are restaurants that are either like I know Crab Hut does this, which is why my lady and I only went there for our anniversary, and that was it. After the pandemic, Crab Hut was like, due to trying to make up costs and everything like that, we're gonna be adding extra percentage and an automatic gratuity to the bill. I'm like, okay. It was an anniversary. My lady loves Crab Hut, so I wanted to make her happy, and I enjoy Crab Hut too. We enjoy it and everything. I didn't leave the lady a tip. It's just like, is she gonna get mad at me? The gratuity was automatically included, 15%. You got your tip. You want extra tip on top of that? No, not at all. The restaurant deliberately says, hey, an automatic gratuity is going to be placed on your bill. When you get your bill, it shows the automatic gratuity placed in there. That's what you're getting out of my pay and everything like that. You are already confirmed to get extra money in your wallet from me. I'm not giving you more because they give you the receipt and they're like, hey, you want to give more money? No, I don't. So yeah, after that I took her out to Boba. It was fun. But there's other restaurants that are like, hey, if you got more than this amount of people in your party, An automatic gratuity is going to be placed on your bill. And yeah, so I mean, like, but that's really more about special events or people who want to get-togethers, or maybe people who are rich that don't really mind that. Hold on, give me a second. Oh my god, Liquid Death. It's so good. Oh, excuse me. Speaking about bills with large parties, you know what I learned the other day? And this blew my mind. So, let's say you want to take out your family and your friends for like an expensive dinner, a get together. There's gonna be food, there's gonna be drinks, there's gonna be yada yada, and you have so much money. Like, I'm literally talking about a lot of money, and you're gonna spend it, you're gonna splurge, and you're gonna have fun, you know. So you make reservations at a restaurants beforehand, like days or weeks beforehand, and then you get there, and you tell everybody who's serving you. You tell the servers, you tell the owner, the manager, the supervisor that day. I'm like, hey, we're this large party. I'm gonna give you my card and everything to hold up to here. Once I hit $25,000, cut me off. And then the employees, the servers, the managers, supervisors, they're all like, yeah, $25,000 and you're cut off. And I was like, cool, you made an agreement right there. Hours pass by, you're having a good time, yada yada. That's when they see that, holy crap, you're already at $80,000. You've racked up a bill of $80,000. So they cut you off, and then they're all like, all right, well, you surpassed $25,000. Your bill is $80,000. Who do you guys believe should pay for that? The guy who ordered $80,000 worth of product, or the business, the owners who agreed that 25,000 was the cutoff, and they weren't paying attention, and then now it racked up to 80,000. Who do you guys think should pay that bill? Let me drink my tea and give you a moment to think. Man, tea is so delicious, I swear. This song is so atmospheric, so chill, you know? If I was a stoner, I'd listen to this all day. All right, back to my question. Who do you guys think would pay the bill? This is what I learned. Due to the fact that the owner, the managers, supervisors, everybody in that business had a verbal agreement, basically a verbal contract with the customer, that only $25,000 were to be spent, and once $25,000 was hit, to cut them off. The rest of the money needs to come out of the business. That's it. The customer has zero obligation, zero legal obligation to pay that rest of the bill, because they knew their limit and they established that limit, and that limit was agreed upon by the customer and the business itself. And the business was negligent when it came down to monitoring how much was being ordered. Excuse me. That's what I learned. It's insane. I don't know if it applies for all 50 states or all counties, cities, whatever. But yeah, that's what I learned. It's insane. Imagine that. It's crazy. It's crazy how the law works, you know? And you learn something new every day. I have to tell you that. It's funny how we went in there from like the whole tipping situation, which, by the way, I still stand firm. It's a gift, not a right. So yeah. In other news, guess what tomorrow is? Have you guys guessed? It's April 4th. 4th. Which means finally, after delay after delay. Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga is finally being released. That's right. The Lego Star Wars series, or game from the Lego series, is finally being released to us. It's been delayed, I don't know how many times, but it looks beautiful. And it has so much, I think it has the most characters to date. I mean, if you guys played the original ones that came out like in the generation of PlayStation 2 and GameCube, I believe, it's insane. You know how far the Lego games have come and everything, especially Star Wars was the first Lego game to come out like from this genre of Lego games. And I have the complete edition right here in my Xbox, and it's fun to play. I beat it. But then seeing the levels you could replay, but just with the new updated gameplay, the new updated graphics, everything. Wow. It just blows my mind. You know how far we've come? The Lego games have come and everything like that? It's like, I gotta pre-order it tonight because it comes out tomorrow. I gotta pre-order it tonight. Main reason is because if you pre-order it, it's like $70. If you pre-order it, you get Obi-Wan Kenobi or Old Man Kenobi, I forgot. The Kenobis. And you get the Mandalorian and the Mandalorian characters from season 1 if you pre-order before the game comes out tomorrow. You get all that. I know it's just like they'll probably release it as a DLC later or whatever, but you get those characters. And I am truly excited. It's just Lego Star Wars has been something that I've loved since I was a kid, literally a kid. And you know, I'm just hyped. I'm really hyped and everything. Tomorrow's Monday, by the way. I don't even go into work till 2, so I'll have time, a lot of time to do what I want to do. And yeah, speaking of video games, guess what? Same thing I spoke about in the last episode, but I'm actually doing it now. Is I'm actually playing Batman Arkham Asylum. You know what I noticed? And I like, oh, you know, is that since I'm playing Return to Arkham, the remastered versions that were released for the newer gen consoles, not the newest, because the newest is the Series X and the PS5, but like the Xbox One and the PS4, is the fact that I like remastered editions because yes, they do update the graphics and sometimes it looks good. I mean, like, look at that horrible disaster that was the remastered version of Assassin's Creed 2. Jesus Christ. Assassin's Creed 3 didn't look that great together. Oh, speaking of remastered, actually, you know what people think remastered should have? Just dynamic lighting. And just make the sunsets and sunrises look insanely orange. I swear to God, there was this one time I was strolling through Boston in Assassin's Creed 3, the remastered edition, and the sun was setting. And when it was setting, the sky was just so blindingly orange. It was insane how I couldn't see anything. I had to pan my camera to face the floor because if I panned it to just have Connor, like the back of Connor facing the screen, I just couldn't see anything. That's how blinding it was. It was just what, and that's what a lot of remasters have. It's just a bunch of dynamic lighting and blinding orange. It's beautiful, but it's overwhelming sometimes. Well, anyways, the Batman Arkham Asylum. Back to Arkham. Return to Arkham. My bad. I'm replaying it. I like it. It's reminded me how amazing I felt about Arkham Asylum when it released back in 2009. There are some changes, though. Some of the graphic, you could tell, even with the remastered, you could tell that Arkham Asylum truly is a product of its time. I say that a lot, but it's the truth. You can tell. If you were to play it the first time, you'd be like, yep, this was a 2000s game, you know? But it's still beautiful, don't get me wrong. And I was telling my lady this the other day. It's just like, it's crazy Because I remember when I used to still get Game Informer, and they were advertising Arkham Asylum. It was insane seeing the stills they had of screenshots of different levels in the game, and one of those is very significant. One of those are very, I still remember to this day. It was a screenshot of the Riddler's cell, and it had like footprints, handprints all over the walls. It had a bunch of different question marks and a bunch of different writing, but it was all written. I don't know how to speak anymore. In blood. It was all blood. And it was like, this is a Batman game? Holy crap. It was written in all blood. It was graphic. When they showed different like screenshots of different parts of the game, blood was prominent. It was dark. It was gritty. It was graphic. But here's the thing. I know Rocksteady was told, hey, listen, you're going to get a rating of mature. And for mature, if you don't just tone it down a bit. So they had to. So when they released the final product, after the long intro and after the Joker finally breaks free and everything, and then the Batman breaks through the windshield and the cells are open, once you defeat those first thugs in that first room, that's where the Riddler room is at. So when you go into the Riddler's room, instead of being like the screenshot for Game Informer where it was just a bunch of blood making up the question marks, handprints, footprints, and writing, it's just green. It's just a bunch of green paint, which is still pretty cool and it's still like pretty fitting considering the fact that it is the Riddler, but it's just green. And it's just like, it doesn't really have the same effect. When you go through the asylum, you see bodies that were dragged around and stuff, and there's a black streak that implies that they were dragged while bleeding out. Thing is, they changed it to be a very dull, blurry black streak instead of the crimson red that is blood. So you can tell that, yeah, this game was supposed to be a little more intense or a lot more intense than the final product, but I still appreciate it and I still like it a lot and I still enjoy it a lot. It does remind me of when I was 15 years old, playing it in my room after a long day at school, finished my chores, worked out, showered, and everything. And yeah, oh, my cat Penny is waking up right now. Finally, a little lazy butt. But yeah, one thing is this. Well, a couple of things is this. When you play the intro, I could have sworn the 360 version was a lot more blue, and the Xbox One version is a little more in the green tint for the menu. But it's still beautiful. And how do you call it? The Asylum, Arkham Asylum, just gives you this tone, this sense that although amazing games in their own right, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and Arkham Knight just don't seem to give you, you know? Asylum was the first in the series, and it just truly gave you this sense of dread, this sense of not knowing what you're getting yourself into. And I wouldn't be like, oh, you're shaking in your boots, biting your nails, scary. It just gets you uneasy. And like I said, I played this game in its entirety when I was 15, when it first came out. But replaying it now, again at 28, I know what's going to happen. I know what's there, but it's just unnerving, you know? It's just different. I know at some point I'm going to have to go to Killer Croc's lair, and I'm not looking forward to that. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly how to play. I know exactly what's going to happen and where it's going to happen and when it's going to happen, but I'm just not looking forward to it. And it's just the music, it's the score, it's the atmosphere, it's the coloring, the shading, it's everything that's just you know? Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful and I love it. That's truly how you represent Batman, but it's dreadful. And I love it. Anybody who hasn't played it, please. My buddy is playing Arkham Knight right now. He's like, I'll just watch gameplay and everything. He's like, no, it's not the same, dude. It's not the same. You have to experience it, bro. Like, you really do. It's worth it. It's just start from the roots. Really feel, just feel yourself growing and the game's growing and everything. I was 15 when Arkham Asylum came out. And, how do you call it? Oh, my back. Jesus Christ. And I was 15 when Arkham Asylum came out, and I fell in love with the Arkham series. I was 21 when Arkham Knight came out, and I finished the Arkham series. I grew up with those games, and at that point, a good chunk of my life. But it's just Asylum. Like I said, Asylum gives you that feeling that the other games just can't give you. They just can't replicate it anymore. They can't replicate those feelings that Asylum gives, and everything. Just makes you feel. So I am truly enjoying playing Asylum again. I tried replaying Origins, and trust me, I'm gonna do it. I still need to continue playing Valhalla, but right now Asylum has all my attention. It's a beautiful game. It's a crazy game, and people should play it. But yeah, that's really I gotta say for today. I have 2 more days of work left, and then I have my weekend. But yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me another hour of your life just to listen to my ramblings and rants. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Mind of Mando. I was your host, Armando Ortega. What was that, Ortega? I was your host, Armando Ortega, and I wish you guys a very, very lovely rest of your night or morning. See ya.